The Meng family's daughter was swapped at birth. When I heard the news, my hands trembled, and I rushed home. So she really was swapped. Finally, I won't have to listen to that fake Meng Yao calling me brother every day. Meng Yao is my sister, but I'm certain our family doesn't have any green tea genes. My mom is a modern-day powerhouse. If it weren't for my dad's family business, she'd probably be the one supporting our entire household. So, my dad is pretty much useless. As for Meng Yao, for the past 7 years, I felt she doesn't seem like my sister. My mom has almond-shaped eyes and delicate, understated features. My dad has the typical look of a domineering CEO family. One word: handsome. Of course, I'm not trying to praise myself either. I also have the looks of a domineering CEO family. Meng Yao is different. She has a sweet, gentle face, and no one would ever think she was my mom's child. Of course, my dislike for her isn't because she might not be our family's child. It's because during my college entrance exam year, she slipped laxatives into my cup and almost ruined my exams. Heaven knows, to keep me from turning into a useless person, my mom made me work my way up step by step from elementary school to college. My college roommates once thought my family was extremely poor, so poor that I had to work part-time just to get by. But that wasn't the case. My dad said boys should be raised with hardship. My mom said if I didn't get into a 985 university, I'd have to find my own job, and none of the family businesses would be handed to me. The night before the exams, through the dim light, I saw Meng Yao slipping something into the water cup I was going to take the next day. I immediately dragged her out. She cried for what felt like forever, looking utterly wronged. My mom glanced at me, and I felt like she was looking at an idiot. Hey, I am your own flesh and blood, don't you look at me like I am an idiot. Meng Yao's ultimate weapon is crying. Given a day, she can cry from morning till night. My dad falls for it, which is why he has no brains. When I was young, I fell for it too, but I've grown up now, and my brains have grown back. When my mom called to say Meng Yao had been swapped at birth, I was overjoyed. When my dad called me, I could hear Meng Yao sobbing in the background, and it made me incredibly uncomfortable. She's your sister, my dad roared at me. My real sister hasn't even come home yet. I roared back even louder. To be honest, there's nothing wrong with our family's upbringing. The eldest, me, currently runs a company from start to finish. My mom didn't give me any help. The second child is a researcher at the University of Chinese Academy of Sciences. Only Meng Yao is neither accomplished in academics nor skills, spending my dad's pocket money every day and flaunting LV and Gucci on social media. My mom, on the other hand, never gives her pocket money, sticking to her usual principle: if you want money, earn it yourself. The family that mistakenly raised my sister is the Song family. I haven't heard of them in the capital. According to my assistant, they seem to be a well-known family from Mingchang. To be honest, I can't recall. The only family I remember from Mingchang is the Zhang family. The first time I saw my sister, I knew for sure she was ours. Her eyes and eyebrows look exactly like my mom's, but there's a gentle elegance about her. I sighed. That family really knows how to raise a daughter. Would they consider offering classes? My dad could use some lessons. My dad may lack brains, but he's not completely brainless. Whenever Meng Yao cried to him too often, he'd go to my mom. My mom would get so annoyed she'd almost kick him out. One night, while I was watching a soccer game in the living room, my dad stood at the door holding a pillow. Meng Yao had moved out. I greeted him. Dad, want to sit for a bit? My dad looked a bit down and asked, after all, Yao Yao has been with us for 18 years. Why does no one like her? Even my younger brother at the Chinese Academy of Sciences can't stand Meng Yao. Dad, maybe get your brain checked, I sincerely suggested. My dad truly dotes on Meng Yao, and Meng Yao takes full advantage of him. When the truth about Meng Yao not being our biological daughter came out, my dad said we could just adopt her. I still remember the look my mom gave him, the kind you'd give an idiot. My dad couldn't understand why. Sitting on the sofa, I patiently explained, take this situation, for example. Meng Yao isn't our biological daughter. We need to bring our own daughter home. What right does she have to interfere? You're soft-hearted and naive. It's a miracle mom hasn't kicked you out yet. She has no blood relation to our family. What gives her the right to claim a share of this family? She even said if our biological daughter comes back, she won't return. Am I afraid she won't come back? Well, I'm not. And neither is my mom. Only my foolish dad is afraid. I said we've spent the past 18 years raising an ungrateful, wide-eyed wolf, but he insisted she's his sister. Yeah, Whose sister would slip medicine into her brother's cup right before his exams? Must have done something terrible in a past life to end up with a sister like this. Our biological sister is named Wen Tinglan. It's a bit strange though. The Song couple, one is surnamed Song, the other Lin. So why is her surname Wen? My assistant ran around investigating for me and finally said one early morning, "Give me a raise. With this salary, I'm running around handling your family affairs. If I don't get a raise, I'm resigning tomorrow. A monthly salary of 50,000. What's wrong with handling a little family business?" When my mom came back, she brought a bag. My dad was stunned. In his memory, my mom never buys bags for herself. The bags in her closet were all bought by him when he was younger and still had private savings. As for when he lost his private savings, let me think. It was probably when Meng Yao injured a little girl at 15, and my dad paid to settle it. After that, my mom confiscated his private savings, leaving him with only 2,000 yuan a month and requiring approval for any major expenses. Meng Yao also has a subsidiary company under her name, thanks to my foolish dad. Life in front of a floor-to-ceiling window can feel lonely and confusing, but Assistant Sue laughed too loudly, forcing me to snap out of my deep thoughts. "Boss, I wasn't really laughing." I looked at him deeply. "Do you think I believe that?" Suddenly, I remembered I hadn't informed my younger brother yet. The problem is, whatever I call him, he's usually in the lab. Hopefully, he's not in the lab today. "Hey, big brother. What's up?" His opening was as concise as ever. I coughed and quickly explained. "When are you coming back? Our sister was swapped. Our biological sister will be home in a couple of days. It wouldn't be right if you weren't here, would it?" There was a brief silence on the other end. "I'll arrive at AM tomorrow. Big brother, pick me up from the airport." "No way." I flatly refused. 6 a.m.? Even dogs aren't up at that hour. I know why my younger brother dislikes Meng Yao too. He's not much older than Meng Yao. He skipped grades all the way and now works as a researcher at the Chinese Academy of Sciences. When he was 18, Meng Yao showed up at his door in her pajamas, scaring him so badly he fell and knocked out 2 front teeth. I was the one who took him to get them fixed. Don't he be fooled by how white his teeth are. They were the porcelain veneers I picked for him. Later, my younger brother told me Meng Yao wanted to sleep in his room at night. I was speechless. Back then, we didn't know she wasn't our biological sister, but she was already 13 or 14 years old. If word got out, would our family still have any dignity left? Thinking about it now, I wonder if she already knew she wasn't Tia Meng and was just securing a backup plan. After pondering this messy situation, my mom told me my biological sister had arrived at the airport and asked me to pick her up. Biological sister. I quickly gathered my things, only to bump into Assistant Sue. He looked up at me with eyes full of deep affection and asked, "Boss, does this count as a work-related injury?" I glanced at him, my thin lips uttering cold words. "Get lost. That's just how ruthless I am. After all, I'm from a domineering CEO family, so I should have the basic demeanor of one, like being cold and aloof. Even though Assistant Sue often calls me an idiot behind my back. Ugh, the more I think about it, the angrier I get. I'll find an excuse to deduct his salary tomorrow. Not today though. Today, I'm going to see what my legendary sister looks like. When I arrived at the airport, Assistant Sue sent me a message saying he had found some information about my sister. "What's the story?" I leaned against the car hood, glancing at the people coming and going around me as I spoke to him. "You should take some time to look at it yourself." Assistant Sue hesitated, too afraid to say more. Before I even opened the document he sent me, I spotted someone I recognized at a glance. There was my mom, dressed in a sharp suit, and right beside her, my dad, her ever-loyal sidekick. In my mom's hand was a brand new bag, clearly a welcome gift for my biological sister. "Thanks, but no thanks. I'm starting to think I'm not their biological child. Even though my resemblance to my dad is a solid 85%, I refuse to believe I'm their real offspring." I quietly walked over and said to my dad, "Dad, tell me the truth. Am I your secret love child?" If my mom hadn't been standing right there, I'm pretty sure my dad would have kicked me straight out of the airport. I thought my mom had only asked me to pick up my sister, but it turns out they both came. Oh, right, my second brother isn't here. He got the notice too late and won't arrive until tomorrow morning. Can't blame me for that. Who told him to never stay home? My dad is over the moon about meeting his biological daughter for the first time. Last night, he was crying and asking me why our 2 daughters couldn't just get along. That's how it goes in the novels, Dad. Even though our family can tolerate almost anything, when it comes to Meng Yao, sorry, but I can't handle that piece of work. My dad has never been great at detecting green tea behavior, so he's constantly being fooled. But because he's so clueless about it, he's also brutally straightforward when he finally rejects someone. As for how we found out Meng Yao isn't really part of our family, that is thanks to my utterly unreliable second uncle. Second uncle was only a year older than my dad and passed away earlier this year due to an illness from his reckless lifestyle. When it came time to divide the inheritance, two illegitimate children showed up out of nowhere, claiming to be his sons. Then, the legitimate son, the one everyone knew, was hospitalized, and when they checked his blood type, they discovered our family had never had that blood type. Turns out, second aunt had been unfaithful. My grandpa immediately kicked her out of the hospital that night, and not long after arranged for all the grandchildren in our generation to take paternity tests. I'm legit. So is my second brother. But when they did the DNA test, they found out Meng Yao wasn't. My dad nearly had a stroke. He stormed over with the report and confronted my mom. That same day, my mom and Meng Yao did an urgent DNA test. Well, it turns out Meng Yao isn't even my mom's child. Clearly, there had been a mix-up at the hospital all those years ago. When all this evidence was laid out in front of Meng Yao, let's just say our family got the short end of the stick. Raising a decent child wouldn't have been a gain or a loss for our family, but raising someone as troublesome as her, that's a total loss. Because of this, my mom didn't let my dad sleep in their room for 2 whole nights. When Tinglan walked out of the main entrance, I spotted her immediately. Mom! My mom was on a work call. I snatched her phone, saw it was Manager Wang, and hung up without hesitation. This better be important, my mom said coldly, sounding more like a domineering CEO than I ever could. I shook her hand and pointed at the girl who looked about 50% like her. Look, doesn't she look like my sister? My mom glanced up and visibly froze. I've never seen my mom cry before, but this time, I could have sworn her eyes turned red. A bouquet of sunflowers appeared out of nowhere. My dad had somehow slipped away to buy flowers. My mom held the bouquet and said to me, "That's your sister." Just looking at her made me feel a sense of closeness. My mom, in her high heels, walked slowly, but I moved fast. I walked up to my sister and greeted her with a smile. "Hi, I'm your sister." Oops, a little nervous there. Before my biological sister could mistake me for an escaped mental patient, I quickly corrected myself. "Sorry. I mean, can I call you brother?" Double oops. My sister suddenly laughed. It was a beautiful sight, so this is what my mom looks like when she smiles. "Hi, I'm Wen Tinglan," my sister said. Her voice was incredibly sweet, too. I coughed twice, straightened my suit, and said, "I'm Meng Ruyuan. Officially, I'm your brother." Her smile made her eyes curve gently. She didn't have the sharp edges my mom did. Instead, she radiated warmth and gentleness, a softness that seemed to come from within. While we were talking, my mom finally caught up. The vibrant sunflowers looked a bit awkward in my mom's arms, but they seemed to suit my sister perfectly. My dad, ever the traditionalist, pulled out a big red envelope containing his supplementary credit card. But really, what's the point? How much money is even on that card? I mentally mocked him. In the distance, I spotted Meng Yao. The hatred in her eyes was unmistakable. I subtly stepped in front of Tinglan. Meng Yao was like a rabid dog, biting anyone in her path. Back when I didn't know she wasn't really part of our family, I already wanted to send her to jail. If she dared make a move against our family now, I wouldn't hold back. We returned home joyfully as a family. The light in Meng Yao's room was already off. I glanced inside and saw the table littered with empty bottles. My mom was about to lose it. My mom is an extreme perfectionist. At home, if even one thing is out of place, she's likely to explode. My dad tried to lighten the mood, saying Meng Yao might just be having a rough day. Tell her to come down and clean this up. But soon, the annoyance was swept away by the joy of reunion. My mom held Tinglan's hand, not saying much, yet somehow saying everything. My dad still seemed a little uneasy. Auntie Jo came out to clean up the mess and left us to ourselves. Tinglan held the limited edition bag my mom had splurged on. I touched a cheap bag I'd been using for 3 years in my pocket. It is fine. It can hold on a little longer. My mom was never close to Meng Yao, though I'm not sure when it started. All I know is that my mom spoke to Meng Yao even more formally than she spoke to me. Maybe it was the idea that jade must be carved to become a gem. My mom believed in tough love from the start, but since Meng Yao was a girl, My dad spoiled her rotten. It all seemed to change that year when Meng Yao bullied a girl from her school, and that girl died. My mom grabbed Meng Yao's hand and tried to drag her to the police station. For the first time, I saw my mom that furious. My dad tracked down the girl's family, only to find they didn't care about her death. They just asked whether we wanted to settle publicly or privately. Grandpa called and said the Meng family couldn't afford to have someone with a criminal record. My dad ended up paying to settle the matter. Over the years, I visited the girl's grave on the anniversary of her suicide. After all, she died because of our family. As for Meng Yao, in my mom's words, if you do something wrong, you should go to jail. My dad was torn between his duty as the head of the family and the daughter he'd erased for so long. That day, my mom looked at my dad and said, "We raised her for so long, only to end up with a heartless monster. I'd rather not acknowledge her as my daughter." From then on, she never gave Meng Yao another cent of allowance. So, all in all, my dad spent at least 200 million raising Meng Yao. I'd better stop counting. If I keep going, I might storm into Meng Yao's room in the middle of the night and demand she pay back those 200 million. It hurts just thinking about it. At 5 a.m., I got a call from my second brother's assistant. "Hello, is this CEO Meng?" Suppressing my morning grumpiness, I replied, "Who is this? What do you want?" "Oh, Teacher Meng asked me to call you at this hour and tell you to pick him up from the airport." Sitting in bed, I was fuming. When I finally got my hands on my second brother, I was definitely punching him twice. On my way downstairs, I saw Tinglan. "Tinglan," I called out uncertainly. The girl sitting on the sofa looked up. In the dim light, she quietly put a finger to her lips. "Shh. Monsieur has trouble sleeping. Last night, my dad slept alone while my mom shared a room with my sister. Come to think of it, I never knew my mom had sleep issues all these years." Tinglan left the house with me. "CEO Meng, where are you going?" She seemed unsure what to call me and settled on a distant, formal title. Looking at her, I couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness. She should have been the one raised gently in the Meng family. How did the mix-up even happen? "Tinglan, I'm your brother." She blinked and said, "I know. But CEO Meng, you have to give me time to adjust." When we reached the elevator, I held the door open and asked, "I'm going to pick up your second brother. Want to come?" "Sure." The early morning air was crisp and fresh. I drove my newly bought sports car. "Couldn't get used to sleeping at home?" "Why are you up so early?" I asked while driving. "It feels a little strange, like something I lost has been found, but it also feels like a dream," she said softly. Her words stinged with hesitation. I smiled and told her some funny stories about our family, like how if you ever see my dad standing outside the door with a pillow in the middle of the night, don't be scared. He's just been kicked out by Mom. When we were kids, I once scared my second brother so badly with a firecracker that he ran wildly around the old house. I had to kneel in the ancestral hall for 3 hours as punishment. And Mom, who seems fearless, completely falls apart if a spider appears in front of her. 3 seconds is all it takes. "If she doesn't, you can hit me." My sister listened, captivated, and asked how I knew all this. Could I tell her about the time I caught a bunch of spiders as a kid, trying to figure out how to become Spider-Man, only to be caught by my mom and beaten up by my dad? That really doesn't sound very domineering, CEO, does it? My second brother and I haven't seen each other in 2 years. If it weren't for occasional phone calls, I wouldn't even know if he was still alive. Even his DNA sample was mailed back then. Seriously? How ridiculous is that? As expected, my second brother still looked every bit the refined gentleman on the outside, at least. "Over here," I waved. When he walked over, my sister leaned out from the passenger seat. My second brother froze on the spot. I felt a wave of satisfaction after all. I'd reacted the same way when I first saw her. But to my disappointment, he didn't put his foot in his mouth. "You must be Tinglan, right?" My second brother seemed quite interested in our sister. My sister smiled and called him Teacher Meng, just as distant as CEO Meng. "I heard you're interested in medicine." My teacher had a rare original copy of a book, so I brought it back as a welcome gift. Smooth talker. Trying to win our sister over right away. Does that mean I'm the only one who didn't prepare a welcome gift? Assistant Sue works efficiently. By the time I got to the office, the property deed was already on my desk. It was registered under my sister's name. After handling the company's daily affairs, I started reviewing the information about my sister that my assistant had sent me the day before. The more I read, the angrier I got, and the angrier I got, the more I kept reading. The Song family had 2 daughters, Song Jiaoru and Song Tinglan. When Tinglan was 10, it was discovered that she wasn't the Song family's biological daughter. Feeling like they had raised someone else's child for nothing, the Songs treated Tinglan terribly. Tinglan started working odd jobs at just 13 years old. My mom may be tough, but she didn't toss me out to work until I was 16. Meanwhile, my sister, who should have been pampered and sheltered, was forced to become self-reliant at 13. Tinglan changed her surname to Wen earlier this year, not to either of the Song parents' surnames. This family really went all out with their cruelty. It made my blood boil. Leaving aside Meng Yao's temperament, at least she was never mistreated in our family. Though I don't know why, with the same upbringing, my second brother and I turned out fine while Meng Yao ended up so problematic. Meng Yao was raised in our family for 18 years, and the money spent on her definitely exceeded 200 million, from the custom-made outfits in her closet to everything my dad smoothed over for her later. And saying 200 million is probably an understatement. My hand trembled as I gripped my phone. Over all these years, did the Song family even spend more than 200,000 on Tinglan? When Tinglan paid back every penny, bit by bit, and then took her household register to change her surname. Did she resent the family she didn't know was out there? Did she think we had abandoned her? Thanks to that rare book, my second brother's status shot up in our sister's eyes. The villa I gifted her? She said it was too valuable and didn't dare accept it. My mom glanced at me twice, and those glances clearly said, "Are you an idiot?" "I'm used to it." I took a sip of watermelon juice. Auntie Jo smiled and brought over a plate of watermelon. My dad pretended to read the newspaper, but I guarantee he didn't absorb a single line. When it comes to newspapers, my mom can read them, my dad can't. In our family, it's been proven, my mom is the real domineering CEO. Lately, my dad has been much colder toward Meng Yao. Last night, my dad was holding a gift box, saying Meng Yao had given it to him. It was the new vessel tie clip, studded with diamonds. She really went all out. That tie clip isn't cheap. Meng Yao and my sister still haven't met. Since the night my sister came home, Meng Yao has barely shown her face in the main hall. When Meng Yao's name was mentioned, I clearly saw my sister shudder. A bad feeling suddenly washed over me. On October 18th, my dad called Meng Yao. The Song family had arrived. The Song parents looked shrewd and bore a resemblance to Meng Yao. Anyone with eyes could see Meng Yao didn't look like she belonged to our family. She looked much more like a Song. The Song parents sat stiffly on the sofa. My sister sat expressionlessly on the other side. "Tinglan, when did you return to the country?" Mrs. Song greeted my sister with a smile, but as an astute older brother, I could tell at a glance that my sister wanted nothing to do with this woman. If I were in her shoes, I wouldn't want anything to do with her either. I forced a smile and said, "Tinglan just returned a few days ago. My mom missed her daughter dearly, so Tinglan has been quite busy lately. That ought to make them uncomfortable." Meng Yao returned soon after. Seeing the two people sitting on the sofa, her face darkened, her eyes shadowed and unreadable. It suddenly struck me Meng Yao and the Song parents had probably met before. Auntie Jo prepared a meal, which doubled as a reunion dinner. But now that the Meng family's true daughter had returned, there would naturally be a grander banquet. The Song family was certainly not the face of our family, so they had no place at such an event. Thankfully, our house is big enough, a mansion fit for a prestigious family. The Songs only ended up connected to us because of the baby mix-up. Otherwise, how could they ever set foot in our home? I'm confident about that. If they had treated Tinglan well, we could have reciprocated with sincerity. Even the smallest scraps from our table would have been enough to sustain the Song family for years. But they treated Tinglan poorly. Having a dinner with our entire family present was already more than they deserved. Meng Yao sat dazedly at the dining table. Tinglan sat next to my mom. "Thank you for ensuring my daughter didn't starve or freeze to death," my mom said calmly, her tone light. It was up to the Song family to read between the lines and take Meng Yao home with them today. Mrs. Song's expression shifted briefly before returning to normal. During the meal, my mom announced without batting an eye that we would hold a banquet for Tinglan. As for Meng Yao, she would return with the Song family and take all her belongings from the house. Thinking of that closet full of the latest season's items, my heart ached, but it didn't matter. If she didn't take them, they'd just be thrown away anyway. There was no way we'd let our sister use her hand-me-downs. My second brother kept serving dishes to our sister while stuffing his own face. "Hey, that's not how you compete for affection." I saw it. My sister's lips formed the words second brother. I'm the oldest. Why didn't she call me brother first? Amidst my irritation, my mom butted heads with Meng Yao. Meng Yao actually talked back to my mom. Brave, but foolish. After 18 years in the Meng family, she still doesn't know who's in charge. "I'm the one who lived with you for 18 years. Hearing that, I almost laughed in anger. My mistake. I should have dragged you for a paternity test the day you were born. 18 years. Costing my dad 200 million and she still has the nerve to bring it up. The meal was a complete mess. Oh, right, since childhood. I've had an arranged marriage engagement with the eldest daughter of the Dong family, a woman much like my mom. The Song parents actually had the audacity to suggest that since Tinglan had been raised by their family for 18 years and they had developed feelings for her, why not marry Tinglan to their second uncle's son while I or my second brother married Meng Yao? Have they lost their minds? Are they that desperate to cling to the Meng family? What kind of family are we? And what kind of family are the Songs? Putting aside social status, if I or my second brother married Meng Yao who was raised in our family, would the Meng family still have any dignity left? Even without my mom stepping in, my grandpa's dragon-headed cane would either beat me to death or my second brother. My mom forced a smile as she shooed this ridiculous family out the door. Well, not entirely. Meng Yao was still here. The Song family isn't a small family, just not as prominent as the Mengs, my mom said, much more direct than I could ever be. You won't be hard done by going back. I, of course, wholeheartedly agreed. My dad frowned, but didn't he get a chance to speak before my mom shot him a glare, shutting him up. Go, Mom! Mom, Meng Yao mumbled, addressing my mom. My mom shot her a cold look. These 18 years you spent in the Meng family were stolen from Tinglan's life. I'm already being lenient by not settling accounts with you. Meng Yao was not innocent. My mom's attitude made that clear. Thinking of my sister's life with the Song family infuriated me. In my anger, I raised Assistant Su's salary to 80,000 and tasked him with thoroughly investigating whether Meng Yao and Tinglan knew each other and whether Meng Yao also knew the Song parents. So boss called at AM just for this? Watch your attitude, I said, standing before the floor-to-ceiling window, gazing at the dense moonlight outside. I'm clever to ensure Assistant Su doesn't slack off. I even raised his salary. In the world of capital, money is just a string of numbers to me. I trust Assistant Su to get things done. I slept too late last night, so the office was chaotic when I arrived. The CEO, who had just finished handling daily affairs, looked like a dead dog, and that dead dog was me. I slumped in my office chair when the doorbell rang. Can't let my image slip. I quickly straightened up, took a deep breath, and called out, "Come in." It was Dong Changli, my childhood friend. When we were kids, I usually called him Dogug. What brings you here? My sister's back. Otherwise, why would I grace this humble abode of yours? I laughed and cursed. Get lost. The engagement with the Dong family's eldest daughter was arranged when we were young. When I arrived, not only was Dong Changking there, but Chu Yu was also present. When did you get back, kid? Chu Yu was the most accomplished among the three of us, a legitimate child who defeated two half-siblings and led his family business to greater heights. Thankfully, my dad never had any messy affairs, or he might have ended up kicked out with nothing. Just got back yesterday. Heard you found your sister? Headache. How did he hear about that? Dong Changking was busier than my mom. I was 100% certain that if I married Sister Changking, I'd end up just like my dad. But there was no helping it. Families like ours are destined for arranged marriages. The Dong family and ours are closely connected. If Dong Changli hadn't brought home a tombstone once, saying he'd carve his name on it if forced into a marriage, he might have gotten married even earlier than me. After chatting for a while, I handed them invitations. By the way, there's a banquet at my place at 8 p.m. the day after tomorrow. Don't forget to come. The private room was quiet, and no outside noise seeped in. Perhaps it was because we hadn't seen each other in years that we ended up drinking a few extra glasses. Dong Changli pointed at my bag and said, "Argu, your phone's ringing. Dogig, are you looking for a beating?" Chu Yu watched us and laughed. We both said in unison, "What are you laughing at, country bumpkin?" Amidst the laughter, I opened my phone. It was a call from my sister. I called back immediately. "Hey, Tinglan, what's up?" On the other end, my sister coughed twice before saying, brother, Mom asked if you're coming home tonight." My mom's voice, highly distinctive, came through. "If you're not back by midnight, go sleep in a hotel." I was lost in the soft sound of my sister calling me brother, so that's what it sounded like. Whenever Meng Yao called me that, it just felt uncomfortable. Both Dong Changli and I worked our way up on our own. As for Chu Yu, his early days were tough, but he made a stunning comeback. So it's no coincidence the three of us became friends. At the banquet, My mom made a dazzling entrance with my sister in tow. Chu asked if the girl following my mom was my sister. We've been friends since we wore open crotch pants. I know him so well that I can tell what he has going to reach for just by seeing his finger twitch. I glanced at him and said, I consider you a brother, but if you dare hit on my sister, I'll fight you to the death. He shrugged indifferently. Your little sister and I have an engagement, damn it. Why didn't he mention this when Meng Yao was my little sister? Animal. He's a whole 12 years older than my sister. As for the marriage alliance between my sister and the Chu family, even someone as aloof as my mom gently coaxed her, saying she could give it a try. If she really didn't like it, my mom would step in and cancel the engagement. As for my engagement to Dong Changqing, my mom said if I dared refuse, she'd break my dog legs. Others aren't even looking down on you, how dare you look down on them? That's the exact quote. Word for word. No exaggeration. Dog legs. Whatever. Even if I were just a piece of barbecued pork, she still gave birth to me. My sister was in the villa, bathed in moonlight, like a fairy from the fairy tales my mom used to tell me when I was little. I walked downstairs just as my second brother was coming down from the other side, and we bumped into each other. Tinglan, why do you seem a little down? My sister shook her head, her smile fragile. Having learned to read people from my mom since I was young, I could clearly see hatred in her eyes. Who was it directed at? Us? It just feels too unreal. The information I wanted was found by Assistant Sue in less than a week. Assistant Sue stood before me with the documents and asked, Boss, when's the salary raise? I waved my hand. This month, plus an extra year-end bonus. After reading through all the materials, I was stunned. In the cycles of life, there are always those who get hurt and those who are accomplices. Unbeknownst to us, our family had also been an accomplice. The girl bullied by Meng Yao back then was named Lu Yun, Tinglan's only friend at the time. Lu Yun and Tinglan grew up together. The Lu family and the Song family were comparable in influence, but neither could afford to cross the Meng family. The Lu parents had 2 sons and, influenced by traditional beliefs, didn't place much importance on their daughter. They merely hoped to marry her off to a wealthy husband so the family could benefit from the connection. When my dad approached them, they knew they couldn't confront the Meng family and hastily settled the matter privately. Because of our family patriarch's authority, there were many things even my mom and I couldn't decide. So, just like that, it was resolved. Unknowingly, we had also been accomplices. Assistant Sue stood before me, smiling. Boss, that fake sister of yours really isn't a good person. Another set of documents was about the Song family and Meng Yao. The first to know Meng Yao wasn't a Meng wasn't my mom, nor me, it was Meng Yao herself. The Song family had been searching for their biological daughter for a long time because the birth took place at Jinchen Hospital. Jinchen Hospital catered to the rich and powerful. If their biological daughter had grown up in a privileged family, wouldn't that be a huge win? Holding this information, I could almost picture their smug faces. So infuriating. Although Meng Yao grew up in our family, she was heavily influenced by the Song parents. They assumed my dad was the one in charge in our family, so they told Meng Yao to cling to my dad. Little did they know in our family, my mom calls the shots. My mom is so rational that even if her own biological daughter made a mistake, she'd send her to prison, let alone someone with no blood relation. My mom mined a pink diamond in Z continent and immediately sent Secretary Wu back to deliver it. Although, I still remember my mom sending me a 100 yuan WeChat red envelope on my 20th birthday, telling me to spend it wisely. Clearly, sons and daughters are treated differently. Dong Changli called to say my sister was being bullied. My second brother just boarded a plane, and now something happens to my sister? Remembering that my sister didn't seem to be wearing thick clothes when she went out, I grabbed a coat and drove swiftly to the scene Dong Changli mentioned. It was snowing heavily today, the branches laden with white. Dong Changli was there, and so was Chu Yu. Where is she? Dong Changli pointed outside. There were 1 man and 2 women. The pretty one was my sister. The less attractive one, I didn't recognize. Chu Yu, as if worried I wouldn't get angry enough, added, that woman is Meng Yao. No, she changed her name. Now she's Song Yao. Whether she's Song Yao or Meng Yao, it's none of my business. Are you even friends? My sister gets bullied, and you just stand there watching. Let's listen first. Dong Changli pulled me back and ordered me a coffee. Before I could see much, my well-behaved sister slapped the man across the face. Chu Yu stared in shock. I stared in shock, and Dong Changli choked on his coffee. Song Yao, how does it feel to change back to the Song surname? Tinglan eyed Song Yao opposite her, a mocking smile on her lips. All you're good at is stealing what's mine. Now, even your family background is mine. The man stood there dumbfounded, then pointed at Tinglan and said something. Frowning, I took a sip of coffee and remarked disdainfully, "Does this guy have an accent? Besides his face, what else is worth looking at?" Yu pulled up something on his tablet and showed it to me. "This is your sister's boyfriend of 5 years. They just broke up because Meng Yao seduced him. What lousy taste." Dong Changli sighed. "What accent? He's an American-born Chinese. American-born Chinese, no wonder." I sighed. Yu seemed decent, worthy of my sister. But it would have been better if his family didn't have any messy issues. After listening for a while, I pieced it together. Back then, Lu Yun, the bullied girl, was targeted because she was close to Tinglan. Tinglan's cool, elegant looks attracted many admirers, including the youngest son of the Zhu family, whom Meng Yao had a crush on at the time. The Zhu family was also prominent. After failing to win Tinglan over, he transferred schools. Meng Yao took her anger out on Tinglan, and because Lu Yun always stood up for Tinglan, she became Meng Yao's bullying target. "You used to beg like a dog, and you still enjoy snatching from others' bowls." Song Yao trembled with rage. The man wrapped his arm around Song Yao and said, "Tinglan, I don't love you anymore. There's no need for you to indeed. There's no need." Wen Tinglan, only discard worn-out shoes. I never pick them up. All right. Now that things have reached this point, it's time for her dear brother to make a dazzling entrance. Yao Yao is a good girl. Your Song family's standing can't afford to offend. Can't afford to offend who? The Meng family? I walked over. Sure enough, my sister's hands were pale from the cold. Yu also came out of the cafe and handed Tinglan a hot coffee. Tinglan looked at me in surprise. The cafe had one-way glass, and I'd entered through the back door, so it was normal she hadn't seen me. I draped the coat over her shoulders and shot Yu a glare. "Don't think I don't know you just want to chase my sister." Then, turning to the man, I unleashed my full aura. "Bully my sister? Do you think I'm dead? Buddy, do I look like I'm from the Song family? The Meng family only has Tinglan as its daughter. As for this, Miss Song Yao, have you been saying things you shouldn't?" "Brother." Meng Yao's eyes welled up with tears. Tinglan stood beside me, head bowed, her hand still trembling. It must be because that guy's face was too thick. My sister's hand hurt from slapping him. The man looked shocked. "Yao Yao," is what he said. "True, Miss Song, you don't have a brother. Perhaps you should go home and see your sister," I said, pulling Tinglan closer. "A man like you isn't worthy of Tinglan." Yu glanced at me and chimed in, "Not worthy." Tinglan glanced at him again. "Not happy." Back inside the cafe, Tinglan's hands were still ice cold. Yu extended his hand in a gentlemanly manner and said, "Hello, I'm your brother's friend. My name is Yu." Tinglan sniffed her red-tipped nose, shook his hand, and replied, "Hello, I'm Wen Tinglan. I'm my brother's sister." Dong Changli, standing to the side, rolled his eyes. An introduction that explains nothing. Yu and Tinglan were bound to interact sooner or later. Since I had frequent contact with Yu, and my sister had just returned, I wanted to spend more time with her, not hand her over to a cunning wolf so quickly. I said to Tinglan, "Let's go home." Tinglan obediently followed me, then turned back to Yu with a smile. "Thank you for the coffee. I actually know who you are. There's no stopping it now." After taking my sister home, I prepared ginger tea. Tinglan stood at the kitchen door, bowed to me, and said, "I'm sorry." I knew what she was apologizing for. She wanted revenge against Meng Yao, and our family was just a sudden means to that end, one that was indeed the fastest and most effective way to strike at Meng Yao. "After this is done, you have to call me brother from now on. I've already been calling you brother before. That earlier one doesn't count." I could hear the apology in it. My sister shouldn't carry any guilt. The ones who should be apologizing are us. The next day at work, Assistant Sue brought me the information on that man. Assistant Sue is great, quick, accurate, and thorough in his investigations. When he looked up, I gestured for him to come over. Standing before the floor-to-ceiling window, I looked just like a domineering CEO from a novel, holding the reins of the economy. "The weather's getting cold. It's time for the Wang family to go bankrupt." Assistant Sue pulled up our company's operating interface and showed it to me. "Boss, your company's working capital is only 1.5 billion, and you want to short the Wang family?" I fell silent for a moment, then decisively called my mom. "My mom has money. Shorting the Wang family is as easy as sprinkling water for her." "Worthless." My mom's voice came through from the other end. "Worthless it is then." Later, My dad looked at all the information I had gathered and wished he could rip his heart out for Tinglan. I heard that the so-called American-born Chinese from the Wang family dumped Song Yao and hooked up with someone else. A few days ago, he tried to contact Tinglan, but Chu Yu dealt with him using some unknown method. His family's company was shorted and is now drowning in debt. The other woman he hooked up with immediately fled upon hearing about his debts, leaving him with no way out. Chu Yu is now sitting properly in our home, gifts in hand. Dad, Mom. As soon as those two words left his mouth, I threw a punch. Chu Yu! I'll kill you. That's right, Chu Yu had won over my sister. Tinglan sat quietly in a corner, working on her thesis. She hadn't finished her graduation paper yet. Brother-in-law. I clenched my fist and threatened in a low voice. Say that again? Is struggling necessary? It's happening soon anyway. My sister hasn't even reached a legal marriage age, you animal. Chu Yu looked at me and smiled. But Sister Changqing has. It suddenly dawned on me, when did my mom sell me off? What's today's date? The 7th. The 15th of the first lunar month, that's the wedding date my mom set for me. Just as I was thinking this, I received a text from my second brother. Brother, happy wedding. I'll be there on the 15th. Your wedding gift is on its way. Thanks. The arranged marriage is inevitable, but it's fine. How many people in life end up with someone they truly love? Someone like me is better off listening to my mom. Once married, I'll listen to Sister Changqing. After all, I'm just worthless.